This weekend project starts with getting an old lamp out of the garbage, and then we're going to head down to Home Depot and we're going to grab us a basket. I've got 2 lamps I'm going to work with, but I've got to deconstruct this one with the light shade. The bulb, everything has to go, including the wire. We don't need that. So I'm going to cut that loose and get rid of all of the wire for it. Once I toss that away, it's time to get rid of the socket that holds the bulb. All of the hardware, again, must go. This one I'm going to deconstruct down to a smaller base. Also, what I'm going to do is make some epoxy, 2-part epoxy, and start putting it on one of the parts here because it was being held down by a bolt. Once I get that epoxy all the way around and set it back on the base, it's going to hold really firm in about an hour. I also going to go to that second lamp and I'm going to take that apart, cutting the wire and pulling all of it apart. We need that flat part right there. And then it's time to prime. When it comes time to priming, we want to make sure we do a little bit of paint at a time, and you only need 1 coat. This primer will run if you put too much on at a time. We're also going to do this to the smaller base. Again, smaller squirts on there and keeps it from getting any drips or runs. Once we let that dry, then we can go ahead and start painting. On the smaller base, I'm going to use a hammered look. This is great because you can put it on. I only need 1 coat because it's a good quality paint from Rust-Oleum and it's going to cover really nice. I'm going to make sure I get all the little grooves and nicks. That's why it's good to have a spray can. You can get all of that sprayed on there. And then on the taller lamp, I'm going to go ahead with this base and put some black paint on it. It is gloss, so it's going to be a little shinier, which is what the look I'm going for. Once I get all of that covered and maybe even a second coat, I'm going to go back to the epoxy, get it mixed up, and I'm going to set it on top of that flat base right there. Once I get it all covered, I'm going to set my planter right on top because it's got a flat part to it. Now on the smaller one, I put some epoxy around it and I added a washer because it didn't have big enough of a base. Once the washer is settled on there, I'm going to put some more epoxy on top of that and again put the planter. Once that sets up in about half an hour, it's time to add some potting soil to both of these. Once I get all of that potting soil in, it comes to the flower of choice, but this time I chose some vines because I wanted to grow and start growing over and hanging on my project here. Once I get all that planted and get it in place, look how good it turned out. It absolutely looks amazing. I like the 2 different colors, 1 taller and 1 shorter, and it looks great. And as these vines grow, they're going to look great.
I'm going to grab this trash can, take the top off, we'll use that later, and I'm also going to grab a rubber stair tread. If you have a larger trash can, you can actually use a rubber doormat, but you want something that kind of has a lattice work like this mat. Now I'm going to use a really strong adhesive to attach the stair tread or the doormat around the trash can. I'm going to put it all over the back of the stair tread and then wrap it around the trash can. This is going to need to set to dry for about 24 hours. So I'm using clamps and some twine to hold everything in place. Make sure to use an adhesive that is either the same color as your trash can, in this case I used black, or use something that dries clear. Now that everything is dry, I can remove the clamps and the rope. And I've got what looks like a ceramic planter with this beautiful lattice work on it. I want to make this look a little bit antique, so I am using a silver rub and buff. This is a great wax product. You only need a tiny amount. I'm just using a little bit of paper towel here. You can actually even just use your fingers. And I'm rubbing it just a little bit onto the lattice that I'm seeing all over. And I'm going to put a little on the bottom of the can too. I want this to have an antiqued silver look to it. I'm going to put some drainage holes in this. And I am going to use a wood burning tool. This slices nicely through plastic, just melting a little bit of it. I can flip the lid upside down and place it in the top of the trash can. The swinging part is not going to swing anymore once it's in there. And now I can fill the top with soil and plants. This is an inexpensive way to use an old trash can and a doormat to create a planter.
Do you need a fun idea for displaying some flowers this spring? I've got you covered. Grab a chandelier, the old brass kind from your local thrift store or a neighbor who happens to be remodeling, and let's get started. The first thing I decided to do, of course, is take out the bulbs. This thing came complete. And at that point, I needed to also remove the sockets. Then I extended the wire all the way up as far as it would go and snipped it at the base to make sure that it wouldn't get in the way. Then I went to the top of the chandelier where it would be hardwired into the ceiling and went ahead and removed that wiring as well. At this point, I need to adhere these discs back down. Construction adhesive is one of my favorite things, and I just use that at the bottom of each one and secure them back down and then let it sit overnight. It needs 24 hours to cure. And my terracotta pots sit perfectly on these screws that come out, or those bolts that come out. And so I wanted to also use that construction adhesive to apply these. So I put a little bit on the bottom. After that second curing, then it's outside to paint. And I chose this fun pink for the spring. I absolutely love it. And the whole thing gets painted, 2 coats, and then a few spots here and there because of the many different parts of the chandelier. I had to make sure I didn't miss anything. Then after that, I was able to take it out to the garden and put a little bit of potting soil in each, as well as a petunia of different colors. So some of these aren't blooming yet, but once they do, it's going to be amazing. Wipe off any of the excess soil, and if you happen to plant on a cardboard box like I did, you can just lift it up and put the soil right into your garden. I had this shepherd's hook on our side yard that used to hold a bird feeder, but is holding nothing now, and so I used that chain in order to hang it, and it was perfect, you guys. It adds such a fun bit of whimsy to our side yard over here by our apple tree and our lilies that are about to bloom.
You'll never believe what you can make from an old lamp and a glass shade from the thrift store. First, I'm going to remove the shade. Next, I'm going to remove the cord since I won't need it, and all of the electrical parts. Once that's all gone, I'm left with the lovely base of the lamp, which is ornate and quite tall. It's time to paint the lamp now, and I've chosen a gorgeous mossy green color that I think is going to look wonderful when it's done. I want to make sure to paint all of the details and even under the edges so none of that existing gold is showing. The final thing I want to do to the lamp base is cover it with a coat of water-based clear coat. This is going to help protect the paint when it's outside when I'm done. This is the glass lampshade that I found at the thrift store, and I've gone ahead and given it a good scrub with some soap and water. I want to attach it to the lamp base, so I'm going to use some contact cement to do that. Now I can adhere them together and line them up exactly where I want them. With the lamp top adhered to the glass shade, it's time to pop it onto the rest of the lamp base. I want to fill the glass shade now completely with soil. My new planter is ready for some plants. I have these succulents that really need replanting, and this is going to be perfect for them. I'm just going to separate the plants and pop them into the soil. I absolutely love how this planter turned out, and that I was able to make it from an old mismatched lamp and shade that no one wanted. I hope this has inspired you to turn your lamp into a beautiful planter as well. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Home Talk. I'll see you next time.